The sun was setting over the endless desert, painting the horizon in red and gold. The air shimmered with heat even as the evening breeze began to rise. Sand stretched as far as the eye could see, broken only by low dunes and scattered stones. For centuries, the desert had hidden secrets under its shifting sands. That evening, one of those secrets began to reveal itself. Aaron, a young historian, bent low and brushed sand from a strange green stone. His heart beat fast as he uncovered more of the surface. He had been traveling across the desert for weeks with a small group, guided by an old man named Malik. Unlike Aaron, who searched for knowledge, Malik had no love for mysteries. He believed in stories told by his people, stories filled with warnings about places where man was not meant to go. "Careful, Aaron," Malik said in a deep voice as he leaned on his wooden staff. His skin was darkened from years under the sun, and his eyes were sharp despite his age. "Some stones are better left buried. This desert does not give away its secrets for free." Aaron ignored his warning for the moment. He had dreamed all his life of discovering something no book had described. As he cleared more sand, he saw carvings on the stone, faint but still clear after centuries. They were not like any script he had seen before. Each mark glowed faintly in the sunlight, as if the stone itself had life. Behind him, Pavan, a strong worker with wide shoulders and quick hands, dropped his shovel and came closer. "Look at that," Pavan said, his eyes wide with excitement. "Shining stone. Maybe this is treasure. Maybe the whole ground is filled with jewels." Aaron shook his head. "Not jewels. This is something else. These markings are older than the oldest writing I know. This stone is not ordinary. It belongs to something larger." Together, the three men dug around the stone. As the sun dipped lower, the desert cooled and shadows grew long. After hours of effort, the sand gave way, revealing the top corner of a massive structure. The stone was part of a giant wall. It sloped at an angle, smooth and wide. Malik stepped back, his face pale despite his weathered skin. "I feared this," he whispered. "The Emerald Pyramid. The people of the villages speak of it. I hoped it was only a story. But here it stands." Aaron looked at him, surprised. "The Emerald Pyramid? I have never read of such a thing. Where is it written?" "It is not written," Malik said. "It is spoken. Our fathers and their fathers warned us never to search for it. They said it was built not as a tomb, not as a temple, but as a prison for something that must never be set free." Pavan laughed nervously, though his voice trembled. "Prison or not, it is still a pyramid. Pyramids hold gold, don't they? The kings buried treasures with them. We may be rich by the time we leave this desert." Aaron said nothing. His eyes remained fixed on the green stones that shimmered under the last light of the sun. His mind was filled with questions. Who built this pyramid? How long had it slept under the desert sands? What could have required such a great effort to seal away? They camped near the uncovered corner that night. The desert was silent except for the soft whistling of the wind. The fire cracked as they sat together, eating dates and bread. Malik told stories to pass the time, stories of men who had once tried to uncover forbidden places. He spoke of voices in the wind, of shadows that moved on their own, of travelers who vanished without leaving even footprints. Aaron listened with respect, but he could not let go of his hunger for knowledge. He believed that history was meant to be uncovered. If this pyramid holds answers to the past, then it is my duty to learn them, he said firmly. Malik shook his head. "Some answers are too heavy for man to carry. What you call history, I call warning. You see knowledge, I see danger." Pavan sat closer to the fire, rubbing his hands together. "Danger or not, we cannot walk away now. The pyramid is here. If we leave it, someone else will find it. Better we take what it offers before others do." Aaron lay awake long after Malik and Pavan slept. The stars shone bright above, endless and cold. He thought of the green stones under the sand, glowing faintly as if alive. The idea of a pyramid unknown to books filled him with both fear and joy. He imagined carving his name into history as the man who brought the Emerald Pyramid to light. At dawn, they began digging again. The workers they had Hiram helped remove more sand. Soon, the full top of the pyramid rose from the desert floor. Its surface was smoother than other pyramids Aaron had studied. The stones were cut so finely that not even a knife could slip between them, and every stone carried the faint green glow. Stronger now that the sun rose higher. By midday, they uncovered a wide section of the pyramid wall. There, at its center, stood a carving shaped like an eye. The eye was large, with emerald patterns spreading outward like rays. The workers stepped back in fear when they saw it. "This is the mark of sealing," Malik said grimly. The stories were true. Behind this mark lies what the builders tried to bind forever. Aaron ran his fingers gently over the carving. He felt a strange chill despite the hot sun. The surface was cold, like stone taken from a deep cave. He looked at Malik and asked, if the builders sealed something, what was it? An enemy? A force? A spirit? Malik's face darkened. The stories never say. Some call it a shadow that walked like a man. Others say it was a voice that could turn armies against each other. Whatever it was, the kings gave their lives to trap it here. They said the desert would hide the pyramid for all time. Yet here we stand. The workers began whispering among themselves. Some wanted to leave at once, fearing curses. Pavan tried to calm them, speaking of treasures and rewards, but their fear only grew. Aaron, however, stared at the emerald eye on the wall. The pyramid called to him in a way he could not explain. That evening, as the desert sun sank once more, the first part of the pyramid stood revealed to the world again. The glow of the stones seemed stronger in the twilight, as if the pyramid had awakened after centuries of sleep. Malik prayed softly by the fire. Pavan dreamed of riches, and Aaron wrote notes by the light of a small lamp. None of them knew what awaited them inside, but all three understood one thing. The discovery of the Emerald Pyramid was only the beginning of their journey. The morning sun rose over the desert like a burning coin, washing the sands in gold. Aaron, Malik, and Pavan stood by the uncovered stones of the pyramid, their eyes filled with mixed feelings. Excitement burned in Aaron's chest, but Malik's face was set with worry. The old guy believed the pyramid should remain hidden. Pavan, on the other hand, could not stop smiling at the thought of riches hidden inside. The workers who had helped them dig were restless. Some packed their bags, whispering in low voices. They refused to stay any longer near the glowing stones. One man even spat on the sand and muttered a prayer before running off toward the horizon. Malik said nothing to stop them. He understood their fear. Aaron, however, could not allow the mystery to slip away. "We need food, water, and proper tools if we are to explore further," he said. "Let us go to the nearest village. The people there may know more about this pyramid. Their stories may guide us." Malik gave a slow nod. "Yes, there is a village a few hours' walk to the east. But be warned, Aaron. The people there do not welcome questions about the pyramid. They see it as a curse." Pavan slung his pack over his shoulder. "Curse or not, we need supplies. And if the villagers know tales of gold, then even better." The three men began their journey across the desert. The sand shifted beneath their feet, and the hot wind stung their faces. By midday, they saw mud walls rising in the distance. Palm trees grew near a thin stream of water, and smoke curled from clay ovens. The village was small, but life clung to it stubbornly, even against the desert's cruelty. As they entered, children paused their play to stare. Women carrying jars of water moved quickly indoors, whispering to each other. The men of the village gathered near the well, watching the strangers with guarded eyes. Malik raised his hand in peace. He had been to this village before, though long ago. An elder stepped forward. His beard was white, his robe plain, and his back slightly bent with age. Yet his eyes were sharp, full of wisdom and suspicion. "Why do you come here, Malik?" he asked in a steady voice. "And who are these men with you?" Malik bowed his head. "We are travelers in need of water and bread. We found something in the desert, and we seek knowledge. This young man is Aaron, a scholar. The other is Pavan, a worker of strong arms. They mean no harm." The elder's gaze moved to Aaron. "What have you found in the desert?" Aaron hesitated. He knew Malik's warning, yet he could not lie. We uncovered the top of a pyramid. Its stones shine green under the sun. Malik called it the Emerald Pyramid. A gasp rose from the crowd. Several women covered their mouths, while a man muttered a prayer under his breath. The elder's face hardened. You should not have touched those stones. The Emerald Pyramid is not meant for men to disturb. Did our fathers not warn us enough? Did the desert not swallow it for a reason? Aaron spoke gently. Elder, I respect your wisdom, but I am a historian. The past should not be forgotten. If this pyramid is real, then it holds truths about our ancestors. I wish only to learn. The elder shook his head. What you call learning, we call danger. The pyramid is not a tomb, not a temple. It is a prison. Long ago, a king sealed something inside it. He built walls of emerald stone, stronger than iron, to keep the darkness from walking free. And when the king died, his name was erased. His line ended, for even memory of the prisoner was a curse. That is why no book tells you of the Emerald Pyramid. It was meant to be lost. The villagers murmured in agreement. Fear was in their voices, but also anger. They did not want strangers disturbing a place that their people had spent centuries avoiding. Aaron opened his mouth to reply, but before he could, a young woman stepped forward. She carried a small bundle of herbs, her black hair tied back with a simple cloth. Elder, let me speak, she said. Her voice was calm but clear. This is Mira. Malik whispered to Aaron. She knows the old stories better than most. She keeps the tales alive. Mira faced the strangers. You seek the pyramid. You should know what the stories say. The door of emerald lies deep within. Behind it waits what the king trapped. The guardians place seals and warnings, but the seals weaken with time. If the door is opened, the prisoner will not stay bound. The desert will suffer again, as it did before. Aaron listened with great interest. What is this prisoner? A man, a beast, a spirit? Mira shook her head. The stories are not clear. Some say it was a shadow that spoke like a man, but had no face. Some say it was hunger itself, feeding on the fears of men. Others say it was fire from the sky, given form and voice. None agree. But all agree on this: it must never be freed. Pavan crossed his arms, impatience clear on his face. Stories, nothing more. Old tales told to scare children. The pyramid is real stone, real work of hands. If men build it, then men can enter it. And if they sealed treasure inside, we deserve to take it. The villagers shouted angrily at his words, but the elder raised his hand for silence. He looked at Aaron with sadness. Scholar, if you value your life, leave the desert. Take your men and return to your homeland. The Emerald Pyramid will bring only sorrow. Malik bowed again. Elder, I thank you for your warning. We will not bring harm to your people. That evening, as they left the village with supplies, Mira followed them quietly. When they stopped by the edge of the desert, she placed a rolled scroll into Aaron's hands. This belongs to my family, she said. It is old, written in symbols that no one here understands anymore. But it speaks of the Emerald Pyramid and the seals inside it. If you are truly set on entering, then you must know what dangers lie ahead. Perhaps with this, you may find a way to avoid the curse. But I beg you, think carefully before you go further. Aaron looked at the scroll with awe. Thank you, Mira. Your gift will help me learn the truth. Mira turned to leave, but her voice carried one last warning. Remember this: the pyramid does not welcome the living. If you go beyond its door, you may not return. When she was gone, Malik sighed heavily. You see, Aaron, even the villagers beg us to turn back. The desert has spoken. The people have spoken. We should let the sands cover the stones again. But Aaron held the scroll close to his chest, his eyes shining with determination. No, Malik. The more they warn us, the more I believe there is truth hidden inside. I cannot walk away now. History is waiting for us in the heart of that pyramid. Pavan grinned, his teeth flashing in the fading light. And treasure is waiting too. Tomorrow we go back, and this time we will find the door. The desert wind rose, carrying the sound of distant whispers. The three men stood together, each holding different hopes and fears. The village had given them warnings, But the call of the Emerald Pyramid was stronger. The desert morning was silent as Aaron, Malik, and Pavan made their way back to the site of the Emerald Pyramid. The sun rose behind them, painting their shadows long across the sand. The workers who had once dug beside them were gone, leaving only abandoned tools and shallow pits. Fear had driven them away, but the three men pressed on, carrying new supplies from the village. Aaron held Mira's scroll close against his chest. Its rolled parchment seemed older than the stones themselves. He had tried to study it by the fire the night before, but the symbols were strange and difficult to understand. Still, he believed the scroll held knowledge that could guide them inside. His heart beat fast with excitement. To step into a pyramid lost to history was the dream of every scholar. Malik walked slowly behind, his staff sinking into the sand with each step. His eyes never left the horizon. He muttered prayers under his breath, prayers to keep them safe. The old guide had no desire to enter the pyramid, but he had promised to stay by Aaron's side. A promise, to him, was stronger than fear. Pavan strode ahead, his spirits high. He spoke of golden rooms, shining crowns, and jewels hidden in sealed chests. He imagined his name carried across markets as the man who found the treasure of the Emerald Pyramid. His laughter echoed across the desert, though it sounded too loud in the still air. When they reached the pyramid, the sun was high. More of its green stones had been uncovered by the wind during the night. The pyramid rose from the desert like a giant frozen wave, its emerald glow faint but constant. The air around it felt cooler, though no shadow covered the land. Aaron stepped forward first. He touched the smooth stones with his hand and whispered, "This is it. Today we go inside." They circled the pyramid until Malik found an entrance. Half buried under sand, it was a sloping passageway, wide enough for three men to walk side by side. The top of the entrance had carvings shaped like flames, but the fire was drawn downward instead of upward. Pavan shoveled away the sand eagerly, clearing the dark mouth of the tunnel. When the way was open, the three lit torches. The firelight flickered on their faces, throwing shadows across the glowing stones. Malik's hand trembled as he held his torch, but Aaron's eyes shone with wonder. With a deep breath, they stepped into the pyramid. The air inside was heavy, carrying the scent of dust and age. The walls were smooth, painted with emerald dust that shimmered in the torchlight. Carvings stretched along the hall, showing scenes of men fighting against shapes that were neither beasts nor men. Some had wings, some had claws, and some were nothing but tall shadows with empty faces. Aaron paused to study the carvings. He brushed the dust gently from one panel. "Look at this," he whispered. "These are not gods or kings. These are battles. The builders were fighting against something. This pyramid may truly be what the stories said, a prison." Malik frowned deeply. "If you already believe that, then why continue? We should leave before the desert closes behind us." Aaron shook his head. "I must see what lies deeper. If this is a prison, then it holds knowledge unlike anything the world has seen. To turn back now would be to bury the truth forever." Pavan snorted. "Battles, prisons. Curses, words, nothing more. All I see is proof that the builders feared what they sealed away. Fear makes men hide their gold too, and we will find it." The passageway led them downward. Their torches flickered as if the air itself moved, though there was no breeze. Strange whispers seemed to echo from the walls, faint and distant, like voices carried through stone. Pavan shook his head and muttered that it was only wind. Malik gripped his staff tighter, praying under his breath. Aaron wrote quick notes on scraps of paper, determined to capture every detail. They came to a wide chamber supported by thick columns. The floor was covered in dust, but their footsteps revealed painted tiles beneath. The designs were bright, untouched by time. In the center of the chamber was a broken statue of a man in armor. His face was carved with great care, his eyes stern. His hand holding a spear that had snapped in half. Aaron bent to study the statue. This was no ordinary guard. Look at his armor. He was a protector, perhaps one of many. They were set here, not to guard treasure, but to guard what was sealed beyond. As they explored further, Pavan gave a cry. At the far wall of the chamber was a doorway, its frame shaped from emerald stone. Symbols ran along the sides, glowing faintly in the torchlight. The door itself was not closed with wood or stone, but with a heavy slab pressed tight, carved. With the same symbol they had seen outside, Aaron's breath caught. The Emerald Eye, this is the seal the story spoke of, the door that leads deeper. Malik stepped back quickly. Do not go near it. This is the line we must not cross. To open that door is to break the work of kings who gave their lives. To keep it shut, but Aaron could not stop staring at the emerald patterns. They pulsed faintly, like the beat of a heart. He thought of Mira's scroll and the words she had spoken. Behind this door lay the truth. His hand itched to study it closer, to trace the lines and symbols. Paven's eyes gleamed with greed. This is it. Behind this door lies everything. Gold, jewels, forgotten wealth. All we must do is open it. Aaron turned sharply to him. You fool. Can you not see this is not about wealth? This door is not meant to be touched without understanding. If you break it without knowledge, you may unleash something we cannot control. Paven shrugged. Words, Aaron, just words. But I see only a wall between me and what is mine. Before an argument could grow, Malik raised his voice. Enough. We will not open the door today. We will return to camp, and you, Aaron, will study. The scroll Mira gave you. If there is a way forward, it lies in wisdom, not in force, Aaron agreed. Though his heart ached with impatience, Paven grumbled but said nothing more. Together, they turned back toward the entrance, their torches lighting the way. Yet as they walked, Aaron felt eyes watching them from the carvings on the walls. He thought he saw faint movements in the green glow, as if shadows stirred behind the stone. When they finally stepped back into the desert, the sun was low on the horizon. The air outside felt warmer, freer, yet also heavier with the knowledge of what lay inside. Malik sat silently by the fire, his prayers endless. Paven sharpened his knife. Muttering to himself about treasure, Aaron unrolled Mira's scroll and spread it across his lap. The symbols glowed faintly under the firelight, almost alive. The door of emerald was real, the prison was real, and now, Aaron knew, their journey had only just begun. The campfire burned low as night settled over the desert. The wind howled across the dunes, carrying fine grains of sand that hissed against the stones of the pyramid. Aaron sat close to the fire, unrolling the scroll Mira had given him. The parchment was dry and fragile, its surface filled with strange lines and symbols, though the language was unknown. Some shapes matched the carvings they had seen on the emerald door inside the pyramid. He traced the markings with his finger, whispering to himself as he tried to understand. These are warnings. I see patterns here that match what we saw on the walls. This is not only history, it is instruction. Malik sat across from him, his staff lying by his side. The old man's face was stern, his voice tired. You waste your strength, Aaron. The scroll tells the same story I told you. The pyramid is a prison. The door of emerald is a lock. To break it is to open the way for the prisoner. Aaron lifted his eyes. Then why write these instructions? If they never meant for anyone to use them, why leave a guide? Because men are stubborn, Malik said. The builders knew that one day someone like you would come. They left warnings for fools, not invitations. Paven, lying on his back and staring at the stars, laughed. All I hear is fear. If the builders sealed something away, then perhaps they also sealed treasures beside it, gold, jewels, crowns. A king does not build without leaving riches. That is what waits behind the emerald door. Aaron ignored him. He studied the scroll late into the night, his torch burning low. Slowly, shapes began to form meaning in his mind. He saw drawings of men standing in a circle, fire burning around them. He saw the emerald eye carved on stone, with signs of power flowing outward like waves. And he saw words repeated many times, symbols that spoke of guarding, of binding, of sealing. When the first light of dawn touched the desert, Aaron rolled up the scroll and stood. His eyes were tired, but his voice was steady. The scroll does not say what the prisoner is, but it does speak of how the door was sealed. It required fire, chance, and blood from the builders. The seal is strong, yet not eternal. Over time, it weakens. That is why the door glows still. It fights to hold its power. If we disturb it carelessly, the prison may break. Malik nodded grimly. Then we must leave it untouched. But Paven stepped forward, his face bright with eagerness. No, if the seal is already weakening, then soon it will fail. Without us, better we open it and take what lies inside before it breaks on its own. Aaron shook his head. You do not understand. To open the door is not a simple act. It requires a ritual. If we attempt to break it without knowing how, we may bring disaster upon ourselves or riches, Paven said firmly. His eyes shone with greed. You think too much of danger. I think of reward. The argument ended without agreement, but the decision was made when Aaron rolled up the scroll and carried it back into the pyramid. Malik followed in silence, leaning on his staff. Paven carried a bundle of tools, ropes, and a hammer, his steps. Quick with excitement. Inside the pyramid, the air was cool and heavy. Their torches flickered as they descended once more into the wide chamber. The emerald door stood waiting at the far wall, its patterns glowing softly. The eye in the center seemed to watch them as they approached. Aaron knelt before it, unrolling the scroll again. He compared the symbols on the parchment with those carved into the stone. They matched almost perfectly. This is it, he whispered. This is the seal itself. The builders left the same signs here as in the scroll. These are not only warnings. They are instructions for how the door may be opened. Door closed again. Malik's face hardened. Do not say such things. The power to close may also be the power to unleash. We should not test it. But Paven had already dropped his tools at the base of the door. He pressed his hands against the emerald stone, running his fingers over the carvings. Feel it. He said, it is not just stone. It is alive. Something waits behind it. Something powerful. Can you not hear it calling? Aaron pulled him back sharply. Do not touch it without care. You do not know what you risk. Paven scowled. You are afraid. You want to keep the secrets for yourself. But I will not be denied. If you refuse to open it, I will. Malik stepped between them, his staff raised. Enough. We will not fight among ourselves. The door has stood sealed for centuries. It will stand another day. We will think before we act. Reluctantly, Paven stepped back. Though his eyes never left the glowing patterns, Aaron, ignoring him, studied the door again. He placed the scroll on the ground, spreading it wide. He pointed to a symbol repeated 3 times both on the parchment and the stone. This is the key. He said, it shows fire, voices, and blood. The builders stood here in a circle, speaking words of power. They cut their hands to offer blood, binding their lives to the seal. That is why the door still glows. It is fed by their sacrifice, Malik whispered, his voice heavy with sorrow. And you think you can repeat such a thing? You think we should bleed for this? You would risk our lives to open what kings sought to bind. Aaron hesitated. His heart pulled into directions. The scholar in him longed for answers. The man in him feared the warnings. He said at last, I do not wish to open it blindly. I wish to understand. If we can read the full ritual, we may learn how to keep the seal strong, not break it. But without trying, we will never know. Paven crossed his arms, his voice sharp. Speak of seals and wisdom all you like. When you hesitate, I will act. I will break the door myself if I must. Aaron and Malik exchanged a troubled glance. They knew Paven's greed would not rest if they did not control the path ahead. He might act rashly and bring ruin upon them all. The chamber grew quiet as the 3 men stood before the emerald door. The glow of the eye brightened faintly, as if aware of their presence. The whispers in the walls grew louder, though still. Too faint to understand. At last, Malik spoke. Let us return to camp. Tonight we will decide. The desert has given us this day. We must use it wisely. They left the chamber slowly, their torches flickering in the heavy air. But as they turned away, Aaron felt the emerald eye watching him, burning its image into his mind. He knew that whatever choice they made, their lives were now bound to the door of emerald. That night, as they sat by the fire, silence hung heavy between them. Malik prayed quietly. Aaron wrote notes by the firelight, his hands shaking as he traced the symbols. Paven sharpened his knife, his eyes glinting with determination. the pyramid waited, patient and silent, but alive with power. The door of emerald had not yet opened, yet already it had begun to change them. The desert night was quiet, but the camp of the three men was not. Paven sat by the fire, his knife flashing in the orange glow as he sharpened it again and again. His eyes shone with restless hunger. Aaron bent over the scroll, reading by torchlight, his face pale with worry. Malik prayed softly, whispering words older than memory, his staff resting across his knees. The air was heavy with tension. No one spoke of it, yet all knew the same truth. The emerald door would not leave them in peace. By dawn, Paven could hold back no longer. "I will not wait another day," he said firmly. "If we do nothing, the desert will bury the pyramid again. I came here for riches, not for endless talk. Today, I break the seal." Aaron's head snapped up. You do not understand the symbols. If you strike at the door without knowledge, you may release something you cannot control." Paven laughed bitterly. "Your words are chains, Aaron. You fear knowledge because it gives no gold. I am done with waiting." He stood and gathered his tools. Malik rose quickly, his old body trembling with anger. "Foolish man, do you not hear the warnings? Do you not feel the weight of the air? The desert itself whispers for us to turn back." But Paven would not listen. His greed had become a fire that burned away reason. With heavy steps, he marched toward the pyramid. Aaron and Malik followed, helpless to stop him. Inside the great chamber, the emerald door glowed brighter than before. The eye carved at its center seemed alive, pulsing with faint green light. The air was colder, the whispers stronger. Their torches flickered as though the stones themselves breathed. Paven dropped his tools at the foot of the door. "Stand aside," he said. "I will do what you are too weak to try." Aaron spread the scroll on the ground, his voice desperate. "Paven, listen. The builders sealed the door with fire, chants, and blood. If you attempt to break it with force, you will destroy the balance. The prison will not open cleanly. It will tear apart." But Paven raised his hammer high, ignoring him. With a loud cry, he struck the emerald carving. The sound rang through the chamber like thunder. The green glow flared and rippled across the stone. The air shook. The ground trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling in soft clouds. "Stop," Malik shouted, striking his staff on the ground. "You will doom us all." But Paven struck again and again. With each blow, cracks spread through the emerald patterns. Strange green light spilled from the lines. Brighter with every strike, the whispers became voices, harsh and angry, filling the chamber with echoing cries. Then, as if awakened, the carvings along the walls began to glow. Figures of men, once only stone, lit up with light that spread across their bodies. One by one, the statues lining the chamber moved. Cracks split their stone forms. But beneath the stone was shining armor and glowing eyes. They were not lifeless statues. They were guardians, bound to protect the seal. Aaron fell back in awe. The guardians, they were waiting all this time. The guardians stepped forward, their heavy feet shaking the floor. Their spears glowed with emerald fire, and their shields bore the same eye carved on the door. Their leader, taller than the rest, raised his weapon and pointed it at Paven. Paven froze, his hammer still in hand. "Statues," he whispered. "Just statues." But fear cracked his voice. The leader spoke in a deep voice that echoed like stone grinding against stone. The words were not in any tongue Aaron knew, yet the meaning filled his mind. "Leave. This door is not for you." Aaron stepped forward quickly. He raised his hands in peace. "We mean no harm. We seek only knowledge. Please, hear me." The guardian's eyes glowed brighter, and once more the voice filled the air. "Knowledge is not worth the end of the world. You have touched what must never be touched. Leave, or be destroyed." Before Aaron could speak again, the emerald door cracked with a sound like lightning. A thin line of green light split the center of the eye. Air rushed from the gap, cold as winter, carrying with it a deep, hollow sound like a distant roar. Malik dropped to his knees, praying aloud. Aaron's heart raced with terror. The seal was breaking. The guardians formed a circle before the door, raising their glowing spears. The leader shouted words of power, and the chamber shook. But the crack widened. and from within the door seeped a dark mist, blacker than night. It curled and twisted, reaching out like fingers. Wherever it touched the stone, the carvings dimmed. Aaron realized the truth. The prisoner is waking. Paven dropped his hammer at last, his face white with fear. What is that? What have I done? The dark mist swirled higher, pressing against the guardians. Their spears flared with green fire as they fought to push it back. The clash filled the chamber with light and shadow. The air rang with the sound of battle. Though no weapon struck flesh, it was a war of power, of light against darkness. Aaron grabbed Malik by the arm and pulled him back. We must leave. If the prisoner breaks free, nothing will stop it. But Malik shook his head. We cannot leave. If the guardians fail, the world will suffer. We must help them. How? Aaron cried. We are only men. Malik pointed to the scroll. The ritual. The scroll holds the key. If the builders seal the prisoner once, then perhaps we can strengthen the seal again. That is our only hope. Aaron unrolled the parchment quickly, his hands shaking. The symbols blurred before his eyes, but he forced himself to focus. Fire, chants, blood. That was the way. It was dangerous, but it was all they had. Paven. Aaron shouted, "Take the torches. Build a circle of fire around the door." For once, Paven obeyed without argument. Fear drove him now. He dragged the torches into place, forming a glowing ring around the guardians and the mist. Aaron cut his hand with a sharp stone, letting drops of blood fall onto the scroll. The parchment glowed faintly, its symbols burning brighter. Malik raised his staff and began to chant in the old tongue, his voice steady and strong. The guardians heard and turned their heads for a moment. Their leader's eyes blazed, and he gave a single nod. They seemed to understand. The humans would join the battle. The chamber shook as the ritual began. The fire ring flared higher. The scroll's symbols glowed. The guardians pressed forward, their spears blazing with green light. The mist writhed and screamed, striking against them with endless force. Aaron shouted the words he could read from the scroll, his voice raw. Malik's staff struck the ground again and again, sending shock waves of power into the stone. Paven, though trembling, added his voice to the chant. For a moment, the balance shifted. The crack in the emerald door began to close. Pulled by unseen force, the mist hissed in fury, struggling to escape. But the light grew stronger, binding it back. The guardians roared as one, pushing with all their strength. The mist shrieked and twisted, then was dragged screaming into the closing crack. The emerald eye flared once, brighter than the sun, then snapped shut with a thunderous sound. Silence fell. The guardians lowered their spears. Their glowing forms dimmed. One by one, they returned to stone, their duty fulfilled for now. Only the leader remained a moment longer. He looked at Aaron with burning eyes and spoke once more. Do not return. Then he turned to stone, silent and still. Aaron collapsed to his knees, his body shaking. Malik leaned on his staff, exhausted. Paven covered his face with his hands, whispering, What have I done? The emerald door stood sealed once again, but its glow was weaker than before. The prison had been disturbed. The danger had not ended. The chamber was silent after the great battle, but the silence was not peaceful. It was heavy, as though the stones themselves remembered what had been awakened. The emerald door still glowed faintly, but its light was weaker than before. The seal had been shaken, and everyone knew it. Aaron sat on the ground with the scroll in his lap, breathing hard. Sweat dripped down his face, and his hands trembled from exhaustion. Malik leaned on his staff, his old body shaking but his eyes steady. Paven sat apart from them, his face pale, his hammer forgotten at his side. For a long while, none of them spoke. Then Malik broke the silence. We have sealed it, but not forever. The prisoner is restless now. It will not sleep for long. Aaron lifted his eyes to the emerald door. The guardians fought with us. They understood the ritual. They want to protect the world, but even they cannot hold it forever. The seal is weak. Paven groaned and buried his face in his hands. This is my fault. I was blind with greed. I struck the door and woke the darkness. If the world falls because of me, then I am cursed, Aaron looked at him with anger, but also pity. You were foolish, Paven, but we cannot waste time with blame. What matters is what we do now. Before anyone could answer, a sound filled the chamber. It was the grinding of stone, deep and heavy. The three men looked up. The guardian leader, who had returned to stone after the battle, began to glow once again. Light spread through the cracks of his body until he stepped forward, alive once more. The men froze in awe. The guardian's eyes burned with green fire, and his voice shook the chamber. Humans, you have done what few could do. You aided us in sealing the prison. But know this, the door is weak. What sleeps within will rise again. It will not stop until the world is broken. Aaron stood, his hands clenched. Tell us what it is. Tell us what lies beyond the door. The guardian's eyes blazed brighter. It is not of this world. Long ago, before men built cities, it came from the sky. It sought to rule all life, to bend every creature to its will. The builders of this pyramid gave their lives to bind it here. They hoped no one would ever disturb it. Malik stepped forward, leaning on his staff. If it rises, can it be destroyed? The guardian paused, as if the question weighed upon him. Perhaps, but only with knowledge lost to time. The builders knew the way, but their secrets lie buried in the sands. You must seek what they left behind. Only then may the prisoner be ended. The air in the chamber grew colder. The guardian's light dimmed, and his stone skin began to return. Before he turned fully to stone, he spoke once more. You must leave this place. Carry the warning to your people. Prepare yourselves. The day will come when the door breaks again. Then the glow faded, and he was stoned once more. The silence returned, heavy and final. Aaron felt his heart race. The weight of the guardian's words pressed on his chest. He turned to Malik. Did you hear? The creature came from the sky. It is not only a danger to us, but to every living thing. We cannot keep the secret. Malik nodded. Slowly. Yes, the world must know. But they will not believe easily. Men laugh at old stories. They will not see the truth until the shadow rises again. Paven rose unsteadily to his feet. His eyes were red with shame. Then let me carry the burden. I caused this. I will go wherever I must to make it right. Aaron frowned but said nothing. He doubted Paven's strength, but he also saw his guilt. Perhaps guilt could drive a man to do great deeds. They left the chamber, their torches dim and their steps heavy. The pyramid seemed darker than before, its long halls echoing with unseen whispers. When at last they stepped into the desert sun, the light felt strange, as though the world itself had changed. The desert stretched endlessly, golden under the sky, yet Aaron no longer saw beauty in it. All he saw was a land fragile before the shadow of what lay beneath the pyramid. They set up camp once more at a safe distance. Malik sat in silence, staring at the horizon. Paven sharpened his blade. Though his hands shook, Aaron spread the scroll before him, studying the symbols with renewed focus. Days passed, but none of them could sleep well. At night, they heard sounds from the pyramid, faint but chilling, low rumblings, as if something within stirred in restless dreams. On the fourth night, Aaron spoke while staring at the stars. We cannot stay here. The guardian told us to seek the lost knowledge of the builders. That is our path now. If we remain, we will only watch as the seal breaks. Malik nodded. I agree. There are ruins across the desert, older than any kingdom. Perhaps they hold the secrets we need. We must begin the search. Paven clenched his fists. Then we leave at dawn. I will not run from this task. I will not allow my mistake to end the world. When dawn came, they packed their things and turned their backs on the Emerald Pyramid. The great structure rose behind them, its green stone shining faintly in the morning light. To any traveler, it looked like a wonder of the desert, but the three men knew better. It was not a wonder. It was a warning dot as they walked. Aaron carried the scroll close to his chest. Malik leaned on his staff but kept pace with surprising strength. Paven walked in silence, his eyes hard and his jaw set. The desert was vast and merciless. Sandstorms rose, and the sun burned their skin. But they pressed forward, driven not by greed now but by duty. Each step carried them farther from the pyramid, yet they felt its shadow following them. One evening, After a long march, they found an old ruin half buried in sand. Tall pillars jutted from the ground, broken and weathered by time. Strange carvings covered them, faded but still visible. Aaron's heart leapt. This could be one of the places the Guardians spoke of. They entered the ruin carefully. The air was dry, filled with dust inside. They found shattered walls and broken statues. But among the rubble lay fragments of stone tablets, marked with the same symbols as the scroll. Aaron knelt and brushed the sand away. His eyes widened as he read. It speaks of a weapon, a light stronger than fire. The builders forged it to fight the creature, but it was hidden when the seal was made. Malik's eyes shone with hope. Then our path is clear. We must find this weapon. Only then will we have a chance. But before they could say more, a low rumble shook the ruin. Sin fell from the ceiling, and the ground trembled. Aaron looked to the horizon. Even from this far, he saw it. The emerald pyramid glowed faintly in the distance, its light pulsing like a heartbeat. The prisoners stirred again. The three men knew the truth. Their time was short. The desert night was colder than any of them expected. Aaron, Malik, and Paven huddled around a small fire in the ruins, but their minds were far from rest. The ground beneath them had trembled. Once more, and the emerald glow of the pyramid in the distance grew brighter with each passing night. It felt like a warning that time was running out. Aaron studied the fragments of stone tablets they had uncovered. His fingers traced the faded carvings, and his eyes moved quickly over the strange symbols. "It is here," he said at last. The builders left instructions. The weapon they forged was hidden in the Valley of Echoes. They believed it would remain safe until it was needed. Malik lifted his head, his tired eyes steady. The Valley of Echoes lies far to the east. Few return from there. The sands shift like waves, and the wind carries voices that are not of men. Are you certain this is what the tablets say? Aaron nodded firmly. Yes, the words are clear. If we do not go there, we will never have a chance to defeat what waits in the pyramid. Paven clenched his fists. His face was shadowed by guilt, but lit with determination. Then we go. No more delay. I will not stop until I make this right. At dawn they left the ruins and began their long march eastward. The desert seemed endless. The sun burned during the day, and the nights froze their bones, yet they pressed forward. Sandstorms blinded them, and hunger gnawed at them, but they did not turn back. Each step was driven by the knowledge that the world might soon fall if they failed. On the seventh day, they reached the Valley of Echoes. It was unlike any place they had seen. Tall cliffs of black stone rose on either side, and the valley stretched into shadow when the wind blew. It carried strange whispers that made the men shiver. The voices sounded like cries from the past, calling and fading. Again and again. Malik gripped his staff tightly. The builders chose this place well. Few would dare to search here, but it also means danger waits for us. They entered the valley with careful steps. The cliffs loomed high, and the whispers grew louder. Sometimes it seemed the voices spoke their names. Paven muttered under his breath, shaking his head. They tried to turn us back, but I will not listen. Deeper into the valley they went, until they reached a hidden chamber carved into the cliff wall. The entrance was marked with the same emerald symbols as the scroll. Aaron's heart raced. This is it. The weapon is inside. They pushed open the heavy stone door and stepped into the chamber. What they found was not a sword or spear, but a great crystal, taller than a man, set in the center of the room. It pulsed with light, soft and steady, as though it was alive. Strange carvings surrounded it, showing figures of the builders holding the crystal against a shadow with many arms. Malik stepped closer, his voice filled with awe. This is no weapon of steel. It is a weapon of light. The builders forged it to bind or destroy the creature. Aaron read the carvings carefully. It says the crystal draws power from the stars. When the time comes, it will release a fire that no shadow can endure. But it must be carried to the pyramid itself. Paven's face hardened. Then we take it back. With this, we can end what was begun long ago. But the task was not simple. The crystal was heavy, and it glowed brighter when they touched it. As if waking from a long sleep, together, they carried it from the chamber. But the moment they stepped outside, the valley shook. The cliffs trembled, and the whispers rose into a storm of voices. From the shadows of the cliffs came creatures of stone, smaller than the guardians they had met before, but faster and more hostile. Their eyes burned with red light, and their hands were sharp like blades. "They guard the crystal," Malik shouted. "The builders left them to test those who would claim it." The creatures rushed forward. Paven swung his hammer with fierce strength, shattering one to pieces. Aaron used the scroll, speaking the words of binding he had learned. And a circle of light burst from the ground, pushing back the attackers. Malik raised his staff, summoning fire that burned with bright force. The battle raged in the valley. Dust and stone filled the air as the guardians fought. Paven's arms shook with each strike. But he did not stop. His guild gave him strength. Aaron's voice grew hoarse, but he kept chanting. Malik stood tall despite his age, his eyes burning. With wisdom, finally, the last creature crumbled into dust. The valley fell silent once more, and the whispers faded. The three men stood in the ruins of the battle, the crystal glowing even brighter in their hands. Aaron's chest heaved as he spoke. "The crystal accepts us. It knows we are the ones to carry it. Now we must return before the seal breaks." For days they marched back toward the pyramid. The desert seemed darker now. The air was heavy, and the ground trembled more often. On the horizon, the emerald pyramid glowed like a beacon, its light pulsing like the heart of something alive died at last. They reached the pyramid once more. The great door glowed brighter than ever, and cracks of light spread across its surface. The prisoner was close to breaking free. Malik placed his hand on the crystal. "This is the moment. Once we bring the crystal before the door, it will awaken. Fully, it will either seal the creature forever or destroy it." They carried the crystal into the chamber of the emerald door. The ground shook violently, and the air grew cold. From the cracks in the door, a shadow poured out, twisting and writhing. It took the shape of a vast figure with many arms and eyes that burned like fire. The voice of the creature thundered across the chamber. "Fools, you think you can bind me again? I will rule this world, and none shall resist." The men did not answer. Together, they pushed the crystal forward. It pulsed with light, brighter and brighter, until the whole chamber glowed. The shadows screamed and lashed out, striking at them. Paven raised his hammer and blocked the blow, though the force drove him to his knees. Malik called out words of power, summoning a shield of fire. Aaron placed both hands on the crystal and shouted the final words from the scroll. The crystal erupted with light, stronger than the sun. The shadow writhed and screamed, its arms burning away. The cracks in the emerald door sealed as the crystal's fire poured into it. For a moment, the whole pyramid shook as if it would collapse. Then there was silence. The shadow was gone. The door shone with steady light, whole once again. The crystal dimmed and grew cold, its power spent, but the seal was complete. The three men fell to the ground, exhausted but alive. The chamber was calm. The prisoner was bound once more, perhaps forever. Aaron looked at his companions with a weary smile. "We did it. The builder's weapon saved us." Malik closed his eyes and breathed deeply. "The world will never know how close it came to falling, but we will remember." Paven placed his hand on the cold crystal. His eyes were filled with both sorrow and peace. "My mistake nearly ended everything, but at least now I have helped make it right." They left the pyramid as the sun rose, its light golden on the desert sands. Behind them, the emerald pyramid stood silent, its glow faint but steady. It was no longer just a monument of stone. It was a promise that even the greatest darkness could be resisted. The desert wind carried their footsteps away, but their story would live on. For they had proven that courage, wisdom, and even repentance could change the fate of the world. And deep within the pyramid, the seal held firm. What lurked beyond the emerald door would never rise again.